There are a lot more different kinds of roller coasters out there than you think. There are even some that make you scratch your head and wonder who came up with this. So today we're going to be taking a look at 10 of these rides that truly stand out. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10. Texas Tornado, Wonderland, Texas. From the manufacturer that brought you Desert Storm at Castles and Coasters and Dragon at Adventureland comes Wonderland's Texas Tornado. This Hopkins coaster doesn't seem too strange at first, but then you get to the inversions. This ride has 2 loops, and the coaster's blue track seems to be elevated off the red support structure with what appear to be white spokes. It turns out that when this ride was first built, the trains were unable to complete the loop, so in order to save money and avoid starting from scratch, the park simply shortened the loop while keeping the original support structure. Number 9. Montaña Suiza, Monte Aguildo, Spain. Before the days of Shambhala and Red Force, this was the first coaster to ever be built in Spain. Also known as Swiss Mountain in English, this ride's track was built into a concrete wall, giving it a truly unique appearance. To this day, it's the oldest steel coaster still in operation, and it opened all the way back in 1928. It's so old-fashioned that a brakeman must ride in the middle of each train to stop the ride when necessary. Admittedly, the ride's hilltop view of the Bay of Biscay is astounding, and while the ride itself isn't very tall or fast, those of you afraid of heights may want to think twice before riding it. Number 8. Tranen, Skar Summerland, Sweden. This S&S creation is the only one of its kind in the world. If you combined an aero suspended coaster with a B&M wing coaster, you'd get this bizarre creation. With a train on each side of the track, this coaster goes through several helixes and inversions. However, while the track does invert twice, the suspended trains remain vertical, so the coaster technically doesn't have any inversions. While the ride was well received by guests, its low capacity reportedly made it unappealing to potential buyers. So S&S has so far only built one of these. It can only carry up to 600 riders per hour, which isn't exactly helpful for the bigger parks. So if we do end up seeing another one of these, it'll definitely be at a smaller park. Number 7. New Wild Mouse, Misaki Park, Japan. No, there's nothing wrong with your computer screen. This is what the track actually looks like. New Wild Mouse is another roller coaster from Hopkins, only this time it's their variation on a Wild Mouse. While Wild Mouse coasters aren't exactly the most acclaimed rides out there, their symmetrical layouts are pretty satisfying to look at. However, this isn't the case for this ride. The turns are not only completely random, but for some reason, certain sections of the track are slightly wavy, a feature one can only assume is supposed to provide airtime. As if that wasn't strange enough, the trains have animal names written on them, like giraffe and elephant. So far, this is the only new Wild Mouse that Hopkins has made, but considering that they haven't made another coaster since then, there's unlikely to be another one. Number 6. Powder Keg, Silver Dollar City, Missouri. Down in Branson, Missouri lives one of the most unique roller coasters in America. But what makes this coaster so different from the thousands of others out there? Well, several things. First of all, the coaster has a fascinating history. When it first opened in 1999, it was known as a Premier Rides water coaster named Buzzsaw Falls. It had a simple layout with a chain lift, some twisting turns and drops, and of course, a classic splashdown. However, the ride lasted only 4 years after suffering several technical issues. So to save on construction costs, the park hired S&S to convert this water attraction into a launch coaster named Powder Keg. This new attraction used a revolutionary compressed air launch and is currently the only coaster in America to feature such a launch. Strangely enough, the ride still uses Buzzsaw Falls chain lift in the second half, making it one of only a few coasters out there to feature both a launch and a chain lift. As if that wasn't enough, the ride uses a transfer track to lift passengers to the launch platform. It really does have to be seen to believe. Number 5. Cobra Connie Land, Switzerland. From the same country that brought us manufacturers like Intamin and B&M comes this one-of-a-kind shuttle coaster. Despite its location though, it isn't made by either of these companies, but is instead made by a Russian manufacturer named Pax. So far, it's also the only coaster in Switzerland to feature an inversion. Opening in 2010, this coaster, officially known as a Loop 520, starts off with a reverse lift hill to build up momentum. Guests are then sent through 2 airtime hills and a vertical loop before hitting what is known as a scorpion tail inversion. This world's only inversion uses a brake to hold guests upside down before sending them backwards through the course. For a coaster with such a small layout, it certainly does stand out. Number 4. Lauren Express, Hollishoff, Germany. Have you ever played with storage containers as a kid? Well, one German rural playground took that concept to a whole nother level. Located at Hollishoff Playground, this coaster actually uses storage bins for its trains. Kids use the ropes located on the side of the coaster to pull themselves up the lift hill before going through a small oval-shaped course of airtime hills. There are plenty of photos of this coaster on its RCDB page, but footage of it is pretty rare to come by. There's some drone footage from the park and a brief glimpse at a parent pushing his child up the lift hill, but there's nothing else so far. So if you're a German coaster enthusiast, feel free to post your footage online. But if you actually want to get this credit, you'll have to be under 88 pounds to ride it. Number 3. Ice Mountain Bobsled, Enchanted Forest, Oregon. Here's another example of a coaster that ended up as a different ride experience than originally intended. Located about an hour away from the city of Portland, Ice Mountain Bobsled first opened in 1983. When it was first built, it was more of an alpine slide with a fiberglass track and a mini man-made mountain. However, the ride reportedly didn't work as intended, so park officials decided to turn it into more of a traditional roller coaster. The result is one of the most bizarre and unusual roller coasters out there. Perhaps the strangest part about this coaster is the enclosed cars. The trains each have 3 cars with thick plastic windows and a roof surrounding the passengers. The plastic keeps passengers from sticking their hands out of the car, as the tunnels on the ride are pretty close to the trains. Meanwhile, the front window has holes in it in order to make the ride more aerodynamic. The best way to describe this ride is it's pretty much a homemade Matterhorn. Number 2. The Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain, Indiana Beach, Indiana. Indiana Beach is one of those small parks with a big reputation. It has the first ever SNSL Loco, America's only operating Jetstar 1, and a wooden coaster named Cornball Express of all things. But despite the name, Cornball Express isn't the most unique attraction at the park. That title would have to go to the Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain. Originally opening as the Indiana Beach Mine Ride, this coaster was once a slow-moving dark ride. However, in 2002, Custom Coasters International converted this ride into an all-new wooden roller coaster. It was also the last coaster they completed before they initially went bankrupt, though the company's designers would later go on to form Gravity Group. Much like Ice Mountain Bobsled, this ride's trains are also enclosed, this time by netting, but what really sets this ride apart is its method of ascension. This is the only wooden roller coaster on Earth to feature an elevator lift. While it isn't a very intense ride, it certainly is one of a kind, and the fact that it used to be a dark ride is truly intriguing. Once again, this ride really does have to be seen to believe. Number 1. Hex and Besson, Seilbahnenthaler Erlebniswelt, Germany. If you thought Zamperla Valares were the strangest kind of flying coasters, you haven't seen Hex and Besson, aka Witch's Broomstick in English. This coaster is located at German witch-themed amusement park Seilbahnenthaler Erlebniswelt. According to local legend, witches and demons inhabit the lands around this park. It features several rides, including an alpine coaster and this truly unusual creation. The ride's trains resemble metal cylindrical cages, and each seat 1 passenger. Riders lay on their stomachs as they go through the course, which technically makes this a flying coaster. Strangely enough, this ride is made by an alpine coaster company named Wiegand, the same manufacturer who made the famous Smoky Mountain and Goats on the Roof alpine coasters. This coaster is especially odd because the view is pretty obstructed by that metal cage. Still though, this is a wonderfully weird coaster that is certainly worth riding. If you have this on your credit list, kudos to you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to subscribe and follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You could find links in the description. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.